Lviv was subjected to missile attacks twice, on October the 10th and October the 11th. The Russian invaders attacked 4 stations of national power company Ukrenergo. 2 of them had been shelled for 2 days in a row. As a result, more than 1,000 settlements of the Lviv region were left without electricity. Water supply was intermittent, there were problems with mobile communications and the internet. Despite the difficulties, in a few days, almost everything was restored.
We have literally a week or 2 to prepare for the autumn-winter season, given the new circumstances. You understand that the enemy has showed his plans. He will attack cities. He will hit all critical infrastructure facilities. He wants to scare people.
600 stoves for heating with wood have already been purchased for Lviv. They are planned to be installed in different parts of the city so that local residents can warm themselves with the onset of cold weather.
The idea is that each resident should have a place to warm themselves up. This may be a potbelly stove built into the basement of the house, with an exhaust pipe that goes up to the street. It could be an open space in a city where people can gather at certain times to warm up, socialize, eat, and then return to their cold flats. Serhiy Kiralj, deputy mayor of Lviv, in an interview with Politico.
Despite the large-scale destruction in the deoccupied Kupiansk-Kharkiv region, electricity supply has already been partially resumed. Power was given to the city hospital. The utilities are carrying out work on connecting electricity to water supply facilities without interruption. They're also repairing the gas networks.
Critical infrastructure is very destroyed, damaged. The city center is virtually destroyed completely. Now we are analyzing the priority needs and tasks for us to ensure the functioning of critical infrastructure, to prepare the housing stock for the winter to the maximum.
During October the 10th and the 12th, Russia damaged more than 200 objects throughout Ukraine. Among them are 28 energy infrastructure facilities. In this regard, Ukraine has introduced a regime of total energy savings. This will reduce the load on the power grid and enable hospitals, public transport and other important social infrastructure facilities to function fully. According to Prime Minister Denis Shmyhal, Ukraine had been prepared for the Kremlin to try to destroy important infrastructure facilities.
The necessary backup equipment was purchased. Even now, the State Emergency Service of Ukraine, if necessary, provides socially significant facilities in cities where there is no power supply yet, with mobile power plants. At the same time, we must all be prepared for the temporary power outages.
After the massive missiles attacks, President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky once again reminded the allies of the need to supply advanced air defense systems. It is to protect civilian targets, including power plants and dams. Germany has already announced the supply of such weapons.
And I think we all have seen why this is so important. The horrific, the indiscriminate attacks against Ukrainian cities, civilian killed, civilian critical infrastructure destroyed, and not least the attacks on the energy system, the energy infrastructure, is serious as we approach winter. So all of this demonstrates the urgent need for more air defense for Ukraine.
Retired U.S. Army General, former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO in Europe, George once says, the West must now think even more carefully about air defense options when planning military assistance to Ukraine.
Well, it needs to be able to have some sort of air cap or Iron Dome or some way to be able to take that initiative away from the Russians. And we've been kicking this around now for some time, but they need a way to protect themselves from both air and artillery strikes, which is the strength of the Russian military. George Jowen, former Supreme Allied Commander of NATO in Europe, in an interview with CNN.
Military assistance to Ukraine with air defense system has already become one of the main topics of discussion in Brussels, both with the participation of NATO defense ministers and in a wider circle, the so-called Rammstein format. The New York Times published the views of observers that precisely the massive shelling from Russia would push the West to provide Ukraine with more air defense systems. Reported by Diana Kolesnik, Natalia Husak, UATV News.